What's up? Does life seem really hard to you now? Does it feel like it's just impossible to get things done or to reach the goals that you want or just to be happy? Well, today you're in luck because we're going to talk about is life harder now as opposed to as it was in the past? This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Danny here with my buddy Randy. What's up, Randy?
Here, Danny.
And before even that, we do need your help. So if you guys have any ideas for episodes, questions you want us to answer, feel free to email us. You can check that out right in the show notes. You'll find an email that you can reach us at.
Or if you're
That's it.
watching on YouTube, you can
Oh,
comment on
yeah.
the video.
That's also a good idea. Commenting's good. Yeah, what do you think? So I've been thinking about this. I don't know. I had this conversation the other day, and I know we talked about this before, but like we always look at the
Well,
past.
back in my day, we had to walk to school in the snow, uphill both ways.
No shoes. We just had to use newspapers that we tied around our feet
Right.
with rubber band.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's the funny part, right? You always hear people talk about how it was always harder when they were kids. But I was even thinking longer, further back, like before technology and stuff, life was definitely hard in the sense that, like, you know, you didn't have all these conveniences. Food was an issue, right? You could die literally from starvation in the winter. You could die from lack of preparation. So many things could harm you. You could die from a cut. But I do wonder because, like, we've also changed like our valuations for things so much that we don't do things that directly correlate to our own needs as an individual. And I think there must have been more purpose there. Like if you go out and grow your own food, make your food, and that food enables you to survive, you have purpose right there. Like you've done something that's naturally necessary. You've done all the things to satisfy it, and that probably feels really good. But now everything's like abstracted.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Life was more inherently satisfying back then because you actually had to use your own utility. Like you did stuff. You
Yeah.
cleaned your own house, you cooked and grew your own food, you fixed your own car. Like all these things that you did, yeah, they were a pain, but they felt good when you completed them.
Yeah, and you did the whole thing, right? Like if you wanted furniture, you built it and you could make it as nice or as crappy as you wanted for the need that you had, right? But it was something that you actually created that existed in the world. And it's
Plus,
funny.
advertising did not exist.
Yeah.
It wasn't 24/7 everywhere you go, everything trying to convince you that your life sucks without this thing.
No, right? You maybe had like once in a blue moon, like during a festival, like somebody
Yeah,
would come through
somebody would be
town with a
selling some
thing
snake
or
oil.
yeah. Snake oil.
I promise it's not piss and ink.
Yeah. But it's definitely got morphine in it. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Yeah.
With just a hint of cocaine.
That's how it works. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
funny. But I think about this a lot because Marx even talks about this too. The idea like when he talks about like the alienation of the worker, he means that like we don't complete anything anymore on our own. Like most people in their work, they serve a small, small part of a larger whole. They never see the completed project. They never do something from start to finish. And so you lose all that value that's associated with that sort of, effort and work and completion of something.
Plus, you know, I an argument could be made that life was more valuable because it was shorter.
Yeah, I
Like
do.
every year nowadays is like 1 out of 80, whereas back then every year was like 1 out of 30, 1 out of 20. It was like 5% of your life. Like that's a significant difference as opposed to 1% of your life. And so it
Yeah.
probably made it a lot more significant.
It probably did. Yeah. I mean, how often do you hear now? What was it? There was a president or somebody that just died recently. It was like was it Carter? He was like 100.
Yeah.
It might have been,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, like you hear about people dying at the age of 100 or over. Like it's like a common occurrence now. Or like if you look in the past, like even like and I think about when you study like philosophy and stuff, you're reading a lot of people who had money, right? Because they had time to write and stuff. So a
Yeah,
lot of
most
them
people
would
died below before like 5 years old,
Yeah,
you
most
know?
people died, yeah, as children. The ones that made it, most of them would pass, probably before they were 30 or 40. And then you had a few people who maybe had some means and who were doing hard labor that maybe made it until like 60 or so. But you didn't have this like where the majority. So yeah, I think that's also probably it. Maybe the shortness of it made it less of a problem too. Because like now it's like I was thinking about that the other day too. It's like we can start over like so many times and
Oh
have a
yeah.
like if you figure a career if they used to call a career like what like 20 years or so 25 years I mean, you
Hmm.
could effectively have three of those,
Yep.
no problem,
Yep.
in your lifetime, which is insane.
All right, so now that we shat all over the present, what, there are things that are good in the present.
There's lots of
Antibiotics.
good things. Yeah.
Antibiotics. I mean,
Yeah.
literally revolutionary. Like that one thing alone has just improved the quality of life a millionfold. Because
Oh,
otherwise
access.
you get an
Yeah.
infection. Like you scrape your knee and you could just die.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally. I mean, think about that. And they weren't washing their hands or anything. I mean, knowledge of germs. I mean,
Hmm.
look, there's a lot of good things. And like, I know I've read a
Well,
lot of,
let's list them
yeah.
because we just,
Oh, no, I was
you
gonna
know,
say, the major ones
before
that,
everybody else just offs
yeah,
themselves from listening to this episode. Like this time
it's
does suck
horrible.
now. I'm done.
The they said I've read reports where they said like the major things that have contributed to longevity of life have been the things you would think of, right? Access to clean water, right? Sewage and sewage treatment, obviously, because they
Mhm.
literally used to just throw it like out their window into the street in cities. You
Yeah.
know, sanitation. I mean, all these things like, and then you mentioned antibiotics was a huge one that really helped. Vaccinations got rid of some really horrible diseases. I mean, there's plenty of good things too. Don't get me
Okay,
wrong.
how about this? So like technology as it's awesome. It's like a double-edged sword,
Everything is.
essentially. But like think back to, back before you had like high-speed internet. If somebody told you you could literally like whatever you want to watch or read, you could watch or read it. And you'd be like, no, that's not possible. Like,
Instantly.
no, you have to like go to the library and they have to order it from the other library, and that's going to take at least a month because,
Oh my God,
it's
yeah, I remember
top.
doing that.
Dude, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I used to be so excited, especially new books, because people would always get them.
Or you'd be like, oh, I want to see that movie so bad, but it just came out of the theaters and it's not coming out to the video rental store for another 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that there used to be like this long delay, and they wouldn't sell the movies to regular people. They'd sell them to the rental stores first, and then, you could get them much later. Yeah, we
Hmm.
waited for everything, and it wasn't that bad.
No, that was nice.
Well, you got used to it,
But
you know?
there is something to be said for, having all of it at your fingers. Like I am shocked right now how much uh how many like brilliant people there are who have written books and created courses and stuff like that. Because it's like, okay,
Yeah.
so for instance, I told you I'm messing around with jujitsu again.
Yeah.
And like when I first learned it, it was like 10, 12 years ago. It was from some dude in like a strip mall. You know, I had no idea if he knew what he was doing. And looking back on it, he knew some stuff. I mean, he was a black belt, but it,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not sure he was anything much more than a black belt. But now
plus,
I
also
can
within
watch,
black belts, there's got to be degrees of skill
yeah.
and like, yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Because
and
anybody can
ability to
get a
teach.
black belt if they just stick with it long enough and they do the required material.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so, but like now I get to learn it from the dude who's literally the coach of world champions. And it's just like, it's
yeah,
night and day, the difference between the explanation. Because I'm seeing like the explanations now and comparing them to back in the time. And like, so that's one of the things that's so much better now. And we both know this stuff with
oh yeah,
computers. Because like
yeah.
learning computers, it's so much better for learning programming now than like back 20 years ago.
Well, that's part of it is I think, the access to information is awesome because it is a double-edged sword, right? Like social media, the internet, technology in general, it can be a super huge time waster. It can cause stress, cause anxiety, but it can also be a way that you can learn anything. You can access anything. And I think in that sense, like you get knowledge is accessible in a way that it's never been before, where anybody who has internet connection can access, for instance, that guy's videos, right? Anyone, instead of having to go to his gym wherever the hell it is, right? Which is probably, most people don't live in that country. Go there and train in person. You can get videos and do it at home by yourself, if you just want to learn. And I think there is like these opportunities exist that never existed before. But it's also, I think, I've just been thinking about it a lot because I think it's interesting that I think we're probably going to get to a point where we're going to shift in how we think about all this stuff, maybe, potentially, maybe not, where it's healthier and where our sense of maybe happiness and stuff adjusts appropriately with it,
Can you
possibly.
explain what you just meant by
So
that last
yeah,
sentence? Because I don't exactly get
well,
that.
like so, like how like everything now is tied to usually money, which is
Hmm.
intangible and which we really don't have. We have some control over, not a lot.
All
And
right.
so it's very easy to feel
Uh,
like, to not,
I actually heard recently that that's kind of like an Anglo-Saxon, like the Protestant work ethic or Calvinism or
yes.
whatever is more of like an Anglo-Saxon type of thing where we attach our worth in order to the value we contribute to the world, whereas a lot of some other cultures don't do that.
Well, that's just it, right? So like, especially in like the US and like some other, I know other countries, right? We attach our worth to what we contribute to the world and to the earnings that we have particularly because so much of like our idea of like success is tied to wealth and tied to, earning. The problem with that though is there's no bar. There's no like limit. So you earn 1 million, well then you just want more, right? And there's always somebody with more money. So there's always reason to be unhappy. And I think adjusting that is what I meant. Like I hopefully eventually we get to a point where that gets adjusted collectively in our minds where we stop thinking of ourselves that way. And I think we'd have the benefits where life could be a lot better. Because I think you can get a lot of those things we were talking about in the past that we were, like we were like doing these things and then getting this value. I think you can get that today with creativity and stuff. Like a lot of people that do creative projects get a lot of value out of it. But the problem is you also have this association with wealth and earnings and with how well things do in the world, all these other things that you don't have control over that then can
You know,
also,
yeah. You know what's interesting about this concept of like needing more money is it's generally the people who are selling the idea that you need more money who are saying that money is more fulfilling. Like you look at Tony Robbins and stuff like that. He's like,
yeah.
"Yeah, you need to make more money and pay for my bigger course that'll tell you how much you're missing out on in life because you don't have more and like everything like that." But then, you look at other examples like Alex Hormozy or Alex Becker. Both of them have said that like money sucks. Like Alex Becker, well, he said I asked him, you know, what does it feel like to be rich? And he's like, it feels the same as it does to be broke. And here's a guy who's worth somewhere between 10 and $100 million. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, what's the point of being rich if it doesn't improve your life in that aspect? And then Alex Hormozy, he was saying that like, he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And he was saying, the best car you can have, the most comfortable car is a Chevy Tahoe. The best food is Cheesecake Factory. And it's like, these are all things that pretty much most middle class people could afford and enjoy. And that's like the best of the best. He spent tons of money on stuff, but that's the best of the best.
Well, what you end up getting, right, is like all it ends up being is exclusivity at some
Hmm.
point. Is that, they just price things out to make it so that it feels more special because not everybody can achieve it or reach it, right? And I
Hmm.
think that is, and you're right, like also too, even if you wanted to eat at a really fancy restaurant, most people can save and do that once in a while. It's not
And
like,
also, yeah, sorry for interrupting
nay,
again, but also I think it's really stupid that we ask rich people if money makes you happy.
no shit.
It's like asking a heroin addict or something
Yeah.
like, or like an alcoholic if alcohol makes you happy or something like that. Whereas like, we should ask happy people if money makes you happy,
Yeah.
you know,
No kidding. We
or
should
if
ask
money's
happy people how to be
worthwhile.
happy too. That would be helpful, right?
Yeah.
Instead of these. It's funny. I was cool. This came up because for a lot of reasons I was thinking about this issue and like there was a couple things. One, there was a very recent suicide in some famous person. And I was like thinking about that because it's like, from the outside looking in, right? It seems like most people would say like, oh, they have like the life that everybody would want. They have a loving partner, whatever, they have good work, whatever, like that. And so it's always interesting when you see that doesn't clearly matter, right? And then I know it doesn't, obviously. But then you also have, on the other hand, too, we live in such a time where you see all these like super, super wealthy people, but they're workaholics. I mean, it's all
Hmm.
they do. They
Yep.
don't spend time at home. I mean, like, and I think, Musk was a great example. He was sleeping at Twitter
Yep.
when he purchased it. I mean, do you really want to do that? Is that really a good life?
Yeah. And also we like confuse these single aspects of the person with their self.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as a self, but like we're just these humans composed of a whole bunch of different things. And when somebody is really successful in one thing, that's great. But like, I mean, I think I've mentioned this before, but like when I was growing up, there was a kid who was like a genius, like literal Mensa genius.
Yeah.
But like he shit his pants, and just like it was just like on one level you're like incredible, but that's not everything, and everybody's like that,
But
we're
yeah,
all just a mix of like
that's most
crazy
people,
stuff.
right? Most of us are going to be pretty good or good at a few things and then probably really bad at other things. And I think
Mhm.
that's fine. But you're right. I think that's also the problem with like the amount of media we have and its focus. it's so hyper focused on these like very specific one aspects of a person's life without looking at anything else. And everybody knows that. So like that's the other thing, you see people go on talk shows and stuff and talk about these, wealthy people or whatever. They know that they're presenting an image too. So it's like this whole like, dog what are they like dog and pony show, is that what they call it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where everybody's just playing games and
Not to mention some people are just narcissists
yeah.
and they get like they're sycophants who buy into it. They just build up this image and everybody buys into it because they think that's what it must be.
And then they all want the money.
Yeah. Yeah, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, so what was this episode about anyways? Oh, was
Oh,
time better back then? It's
I
a
don't
tough
think
one because we
it
can only
is.
look back at memories and
Well, and
whatnot.
also in like history, we just don't know. Like that's the other funny thing because I think people had a lot of the same problems we have now that they did in the past. And I always think it's funny. It's easy to romanticize because it's funny. Like they did this in the Enlightenment period. It was a lot of people back then that were writers. They look back at ancient Greece as like they romanticized it. They made this ideal place, but they had no idea. They didn't live there. They didn't know what the people were like. They had no clue whether it was like really as they imagined it, and probably it wasn't, let's be honest, versus the reality of living there, which was probably a lot harder.
Yeah. It's really difficult because I look back at this. Like I remember when I first graduated from veterinary school, I had like, $250,000 in debt and no money. And
Yeah.
I remember like when I had saved up $10,000 or something in my bank account, I felt freaking rich. Like
Yeah.
that was pretty much like the richest I felt in my entire life. Even though arguably I have more money now, I still that moment I felt wealthier. And I would have thought that like, you know, if I got rid of the debt or had more money, then I would feel rich, but it just doesn't correlate that way. So you can't really look back at
No, because you
like,
adjust to everything too. And I think
mhm.
that's the other problem. Like we have this problem of it's really easy to look back at things and to turn them into something they weren't. I mean, we've so many studies have shown that memories are not perfect. So even looking back at your own life, where you're like, well, it's my life. I remember what it was like to be a child. It's like, yeah, but you were a kid. You weren't an adult. You weren't dealing with how do you pay for your house? How do you pay for your car? You weren't dealing with the stress of like
Mhm.
everyday life and all. You were a child is probably going to have, it's less stress in half of your time, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to look back and make these judgments anyway. And then it's also our memory's not accurate either. And then looking back at these way past things, it's like we don't really know. We have an idea, but yeah.
Okay, so here's the question. If you could stay here in this time or go back to any time while you were living or any time before then, what would you do?
I would stay here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would. Because I think it's here.
Yeah.
It's it.
I, you know, I do enjoy my life nowadays, but I think it would be really interesting to one of two things. Either one, go back to like right around when Nintendo was coming out and like the
Oh, that
Gateway
was a good
2000,
time.
like the beginning of computers and technology, to like go back then with like the knowledge and passion that I have now. Because back then I wanted to get involved in computers, but I just thought it was impossible. Like I thought you had to be
Yeah.
something special to like, yeah, I thought you had to be a wizard in order to be a
Oh,
programmer or
I did
something
too.
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
like now I've seen through the veil and it's exactly like the Wizard of Oz, you know. And so I think that would have been really cool. I also would have really liked to have gone back to like Greek and Roman times.
Oh,
That would have
there's
been
definitely
sweet.
times that I would have loved to have gone back to. The only caveat there is that I could speak the language. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's
And
not
not
a
be a slave.
and not
Yeah.
just get murdered immediately for
Right.
being some weird guy that they don't understand.
An alien. Yeah.
But I do. I think it's funny because I think a lot of people have this tendency to think back. That's why I wanted to talk about it because I think, you know, we can make this time too obviously better. There's no reason why we wouldn't be able to. It just, I think now always feels worse because it's like that tendency too to think that like you're living in, what
Well,
there was a
dude.
study that said most people like it's common to think the world's going to end in your lifetime. Like a lot of people have that thought, right? And it's just because it's
Mhm,
like this is our lifetime. It's the most important to us, right? So if things are going to go
mhm.
bad, they're going to go bad now, type thing.
Yeah. Well, like I mean, not appreciating this stuff in the present. Look at the cognitive distortions the mental filter where you focus on the negative, and then discounting the positive where you say the
Yeah.
positive stuff doesn't count. So like look at how often we do that stuff in looking at the present because we're like, oh, the politics and the
Yeah.
wars and oh, it's going to hell in a handbasket. And then the positive, you're like, yeah, but that doesn't count because I mean, come on, of course it's going to be that way. And it's like, yeah, but those are errors in thinking.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you go back. That's the funny thing. You go back not even that far in the past, and like literally a cut could turn into like a horrible thing that you end up dying from in a horrible fashion.
Or like best
Painful.
case scenario, you get amputated
Yeah.
like what without anesthesia. You know,
And
somebody
like a
just takes a
rusty
saw.
saw, literally.
Yeah, they take
Yeah.
a saw and just cut off your limb and
No,
while you
thank you.
bite down on a piece of wood. You know, like that
And
is
hopefully
best
you're
case
really drunk.
scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. Could you imagine? It'd be terrible. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's a worthwhile discussion though. Do you have anything else you want to add to
Mhm.
that? So is it better to be, alive now or in the past? I think probably yeah, now is good. And I think it's a
Yeah.
lot of
Let
times
us
just
know
learn.
what you think down in the
Yeah,
comments and the show
that'd be helpful.
notes. Well, no, but you could also email us your thoughts.
You
And
can
if you have
email.
any ideas for episodes, definitely let us know.
Yeah, this is the Existential Stoic podcast. We'll be back later this week with another episode. Check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And until next time, though, later, Andy.
Good, Danny.